What's up, guys? Gonna talk a little bit more about Motorsport Games and how things are going. There's another article today. Somebody sent me the link. So, we're gonna go through it and see if there's anything new or surprising. I doubt it. So, it says here NASCAR. This is from Jalopnik, by the way. If you guys wanna see the article, if I remember, I'll post a link in the description box. NASCAR 21 developer Motorsport Games' bad year is getting worse. I don't think anyone's surprised. The publicly listed sim racing publisher could be booted from the stock exchange if its share price doesn't improve soon. I did hear about this before. I thought they were booted already, but apparently not. I know that if you have a stock that doesn't stay at least at $1 a share for like a specific amount of time. I don't know if it's like 60 days, 30 days, 90 days, or whatever it is. You get booted off the stock exchange. You're not allowed to trade the stock anymore. So, anyway, let's see what they say here. Motorsport Games, the publisher behind 21 Ignition, that is also working on new IndyCar and British Touring Car Championship licensed titles. So the BTCC game is still in development, I guess. You got to take these articles with a grain of salt because they don't really know everything that's going on within the company. Like the rest of us, we find little pieces of information here and there, and then you have what Motorsport Games themselves tell you. But I think we know by now that Motorsport Games in particular can't be trusted, right? Everything, they're going to tell you, they're going to give you the best view of everything, right? They're just going to give you the best possible spin on everything. They're not going to come out and say, man, we're sinking. I don't think we don't think we're going to make it. They're going to just paint everything in the best possible light. So, supposedly it's still in development. Titles has been served a deficiency letter from Nasdaq stock exchange for trading too low for a period of 30 days. If it can't boost its share price before the end of the year, it could be kicked out of the market. The letter, preserved by financial data site Doco, reveals that Nasdaq alerted Motorsport Games on June 6th that it had failed to comply with Rule 5550A2, which requires that listed securities must maintain a minimum bid price. Okay, has to maintain the dollar minimum per share. So they already surpassed that. Closing below $1 for 30 days places a company in a 180-day compliance status. Okay, so they get 180 days to get it back up. It will need to record a price above $1 for 10 consecutive days before December 5th. If that doesn't happen, it could plead for another grace period, according to Nasdaq. If the company does not regain compliance with the rule, company may be eligible for an additional 180 calendar day compliance period. Okay, so this is probably going to drag out for a while. It seems to me that Motorsport Games they're not going to go away quietly. It's a patient that's on life support, as I've said, but they didn't say, hey, pull the plug, or nobody wants to pull the plug. They're going to try to the bitter end to, I guess, make the company profitable. The problem is, I don't see how they're going to do that unless they build up hype and lie to people about what's going on and what their plans are. And it does seem to me like they're very comfortable doing that. They're not the only ones. We see this all throughout the gaming industry. Right now, EA is marketing the next Madden game, telling them all these new features, and people are right off the bat calling them out. And Ryan Moody's doing a great job with that. Go check his stuff out. He's on their necks, man, and there's nothing new. It's cut and paste rehashed stuff, and they're trying to promote it as new stuff. And that's not the worst part. The worst part is that these things don't deliver what they're promising. So not only are they cut and paste rehashing old stuff, they're also cut and paste rehashing failure. It would be different if they actually had this stuff and figured it out and made it work finally, but it doesn't. So EA, all these big companies, a lot of people have been asking for, I hope EA makes another NASCAR game. I keep telling people, one, it's not going to happen. There's, I hate to break it to people, but NASCAR games don't have the same potential market value that a football game does. That's just the truth. And I'm the biggest NASCAR fan around. But that's the honest truth. EA looks at NASCAR, they just don't see the profit. And even if they were able to develop a great game that had high sales numbers, those sales numbers would still be in the bubble of NASCAR. High sales numbers for a NASCAR game is not the equivalent of high sales numbers for an NFL football game. That's the truth. So EA just doesn't see a profit with NASCAR games. I don't know if that changes down the line. Who knows? Codemasters is part of EA, and people keep, I want Codemasters to, I would love to get the F1 equivalent of a NASCAR game, like what you have now in F1. I wish we could get that but as a NASCAR game. But that's fantasy. First of all, it took many years just to get to where they are now. If you're an F1 fan and you're enjoying those games, I envy you. I wish I could get into that. That's just not my cup of tea. But I appreciate what they've done. And all I can tell you guys, if you're part of the F1 community, you better enjoy that while it lasts, because it's not going to last. EA is going to destroy that franchise. I don't know how long it's going to take, but I promise you, they're going to destroy it. Because they're going to push and push and push for more microtransactions and just finding ways to rip people off. And that's just the truth. So I wouldn't even want EA in the picture. The only possible contender to me is iRacing. And now that they've bought Monster Games, they also just announced with their season update the Orontes engine game drag, right? So I tried out the demo. I tried to capture video. I couldn't do it. I don't know if I got to get it into a Windows mode or something to make it work with OBS. Whatever it is, it's above my head. Unfortunately, that's what you get with my channel. It's going to be low tech, and I have a hard time figuring out even some basic stuff that I'm sure a lot of you guys probably, or it might be easy to you. It's not to me. But you can go on Steam. You could see videos. The Orontes game, the drag, I think they retitled it or something. I think what it is, it's basically a platform to show what they're capable of. That game, yeah, it's for sale. They're trying to make money off of it. It's a game, but I think it's more to show people what the Orontes engine, because they don't call Orontes like a developer. They keep referring to it as an engine. I think that game is just meant to highlight this is what we're capable of doing with a race game. And I think that's one of the reasons iRacing bought them out. They probably saw that and saw potential. The game visually looks good. And to me, it looks as good as, graphics-wise, as what you could want from a NASCAR game, right? It doesn't have to be a mind-blowing visual experience. So I think that it shows that they can put together something that looks nice. But on top of that, the car model, the physics, it is arcadey, okay? But that's not necessarily a bad thing. And I think that with Monster Games, having Orantes on board under the iRacing umbrella, I think that together, to me, that's the best possible way forward in the future. But even if they were to come out today, or anybody, and say, hey, we just got a licensing deal with NASCAR, we're going to start making the game today. We just broke ground, and we just begun development. The soonest that you could see a game, if that was to happen right now as I'm speaking, would be 3 to 4 years. 4 years, realistically. 3 years would be rushing it. So I hate to break it to people. I really don't want to be negative. I know most of my videos tend to be on the negative side of things, but I'm just being realistic. I'm just trying to... I don't want to bullshit people. I don't want to get people's hopes up for no reason. I am trying to find silver linings here and there, but the last thing I'm going to do is bullshit people about certain realities. Like, we're not getting a new NASCAR game from a new developer for at least I think 5 years. And it really all depends on how fast Motorsport Games just dies off, or how long are they able to hang on life support, because they're not giving up the license. And no matter how bad things are, I think that they know that that's their biggest IP, and without a NASCAR title, they're just going to be something like an indie developer. The motorsport conglomerate that really oversees everything, it's big, they have lots of money, but if they don't have NASCAR under their wing as one of their licensed products, that's a huge hit. I don't think a kart game is going to save them. As good as that game does look, they didn't develop that game. They just bought out that company. BTCC or this other stuff, I have no idea what to expect from that. I'm not expecting much. It's probably going to be R Factor, but like BTCC. And then maybe the indie game is going to be R Factor, but open wheel. So it's like everything's going to be based on that, even though they talked about restructuring and not using the engine and doing this, or not using the Unreal Engine. I mean, there's a lot of fucking jargon that is above my head. I'm not really sure technically what their plans are, but it doesn't really matter. Most of it's marketing. It doesn't mean anything. I think that's their only way to get this thing back to $1 or above, is to bullshit people and build hype on lies, which is what brought me to this long ass fucking dissertation of other companies and other game developers. This is what they do. They do this all the time. They overhype games, and then how many games have you seen that actually met expectation? And the only ones that come to mind in recent memory is like RDR2, Red Dead Redemption. That game, for me, met every expectation and even exceeded in some aspects. But think about it. That game was in development for over 8 years. So there's not many companies that can get away with that. Like just going on hiatus, living off of Grand Theft Auto Online, and just taking their time with other stuff. Not everyone can do that. And like I said, even if somebody started today, I don't think we're gonna see a new NASCAR game from a new developer for at least 5 years. Minimum. Because we don't know when somebody else will step in. And like I said, I think our best hope would be iRacing. Because I do think they have all the tools in place, and they're not going to be fumbling like oh, what do we do? How do we want to structure this? In fact, I have to believe that if they're smart, they already have a layout of what they want to do. I think they're just sitting back, watching what's happening and waiting. They already have a partnership with NASCAR. They already have a licensing deal. You know, we have licensed up properties within iRacing. So they're no stranger to working with NASCAR. They already have a relationship. I just think it's a matter of how long does fucking Motorsport Games hang on and just stay on life support. I'm actually surprised they're still hanging on, and I'm sure that the power, you know, the people behind Motorsport Games, Dimitri Kosko and others, they're just coming up with how can we bullshit our way back to at least not getting booted off the stock exchange. That's their main goal right now. And the only way that I see doing that is to lie to people. And so far, everything they've tried to do to hype up, you know, what their plans are, like they gave us that roadmap, that didn't do a damn thing. So, you know, and then let's go on through the article a little more. Okay. Company does not regain compliance with the rule by December 5th. The company may be eligible for an additional... Okay, blah, blah, blah. Alright, let's skip that. In the meantime, Motorsport Games is considering a reverse stock split, which would consolidate outstanding shares to raise their value above the necessary threshold. The company intends to continue monitoring the bid price. All right, this is boring stuff. It doesn't. The point is, they're on life support. The stock has been below $1 for quite some time, and there's no way up. Really, they don't have anything to offer. You know, they're talking about earlier this month. Motorsport Games announced the BTT title has been delayed until 2024. This is what I'm trying to tell you guys. They're not going to come out and say, well, that's, you know, that's been kiboshed. You can delay anything, right? But what's inevitable is we may never see this game. How do you get to 2024? So this means nothing. So this is a way for them to say, well, technically the game is still in development, and maybe they are working on it, but I don't think they're like fucking balls to the wall working on the game. It's just there. And they probably have a handful of people just tinkering with stuff because you got to pump more money into this. Meanwhile, you have a dying license, NASCAR, that you got to pump something into this. And I don't hear any plans. They already said cash on hand wouldn't be enough to keep it afloat for at least the next 12 months. How do you so this is meaningless. 2024 doesn't mean a thing. When Motorsport Games went public in 2021, it opened at $26.85 a share. It was down to $10 by August, before a brief bump up to 14 and then slid again. Wow. And I'm wondering if the same people who were blaming Ukraine and all this shit going on over there for this, I wonder what they have to say about this. I guess it's still because of Ukraine. Fucking lemmings. Here we go. IndyCar game. The first look at the upcoming game. Yeah, I saw this. These are clips of, I guess, supposedly the IndyCar game. And to be honest, this could be taken right off of R Factor. I mean, I have no idea. And I'm sure that IndyCar fans, they're desperate. They want to see something. But, you know, I can't see how anyone could be excited for a BTCC game or IndyCar, knowing everything that we know already. Instilling confidence in investors will be difficult without releases. But the publisher has to take time to ensure its new titles are good enough, or they'll do more damage in the long run. as we've seen with NASCAR 21. Motorsport Games released the first images of the 2023 IndyCar over Indy 500 last month. They're not much more than a shot of generic livery-less Dallara chassis model. But the company will need to find ways to drum up enthusiasm to survive the rebuilding year ahead. Yeah, like I said, they're going to have to find ways. What ways can you find? They're not releasing anything. So all you have is bullshit. They're going to have to come up with a bullshit campaign. This is a very small aspect of that. This is the best they could do, was come up with a couple of screenshots and hope that people get excited over it. This would have worked a year ago. Okay? Before we knew everything we know today. Too much has happened. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Who cares? They're not gonna let this go. I don't know, man. I mean, a part of me says I get it. I don't blame them. Why would you? This is your top title that you have under your umbrella. If you have to let this go, then what? You're gonna survive. How many people actually want the British touring car game? I'm sure there's a lot of people that are interested, but that's more of a European thing. I don't. Yeah, I'm not sure what else to say, but I hate to just be the bringer of bad news, but we're not going to see a new NASCAR game from anyone else for at least 5 years, because by the time all of this settles, like I said, these guys are hanging on for dear life. Who knows how long they can hang around just fucking bullshitting people. NASCAR is apparently, we already know they want out, but they're not actively doing anything that we know of. There's, they don't want to drag this out in court, which costs money. And I don't know, man. Like, personally, I think they should be able to work something out where maybe, like, okay, you guys still have, a licensing deal. You can keep, trying to make another NASCAR game, but it's not going to be exclusive. We're gonna allow other people to make games. But these guys are going to drag NASCAR down with them. And NASCAR has been asleep at the wheel. They haven't been involved enough. And I, like I said, in the past, I don't want NASCAR involved in game development. I don't want them in there like, hey, making decisions on what the game should be like, because I don't trust NASCAR. You see what they're doing in the sport, and they're very gimmicky. God knows what they would do with a NASCAR game if they had actual directors' input. So I don't want that. But on the business side of things, they do need to be involved. You can't just issue somebody an exclusive deal. And much less an unproven developer. These guys never made a fucking game before. And they just gave them the license. And this game was in development for about 3 years at least. So this is why I'm saying, even if somebody did step up right now and said, hey, we just struck a deal and we just broke ground today on a new NASCAR game, you wouldn't see that game for at least 4 years, I think. It sucks, man. We're just gonna, I don't know, man. It's not much we can do. And like I said, the best hope we have is maybe if somehow iRacing can strike a deal. And I do think that they must have a layout of what they want to do. I would think. They purchased Monster Games. This Orantes Engine Games developer. If you look at the product, go check it out or try the fucking demo. You're not gonna bet. It's not gonna blow you away. But the demo, I think, or I should say that game, that drag game, it's more of a showcase of what they can do, or their engine is capable of. That's what I pay attention to. I know the game itself is boring. It's dull. I do think they announced that they're gonna have AI and all kinds of shit. I only tried the demo, so I don't want to get too deep into that. But I only tried it because I was interested to see what does this thing look like, what does it feel like, and yeah, it's arcadey, but there is potential there. The game, graphics wise, there's lots of potential, and physics wise, it does seem like something that is detailed, and they put work into it. Again, it's a fucking weird car that doesn't exist. I don't think it looks like a game that's just fantasy based, but on dirt you could see the suspension, the physics, all that it come into play. It is very much on the tight side, but again, there's no like way to adjust the handling or anything like that. I couldn't even try it on a wheel. I had to do it on a hand controller. Even though it shows you have the option for wheel support, I couldn't. It wouldn't work with my wheel. So I just tried it with the hand controller. But my main point is, the best chance we have is iRacing, and with Monster Games' help, who does have lots of experience, and I do see potential with this Orantes engine people, or developer I should say. That's our best hope. I don't. Who else is gonna make a NASCAR game? Like I said, EA's not doing it. I don't. I'd be shocked. And if they did it, that's not necessarily a good thing. It sucks, man. NASCAR fans are just gonna keep being disappointed for the foreseeable future. And these guys, who knows? I mean, who knows what they're gonna shovel out? And if they're still alive in a year, I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do. There's not much we can do. So anyway, those are my thoughts. I look forward to your comments. Go check out the article. Let me know what you think. And when there's more news, I'll talk about it. So later.